Against? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we move to Hereford Street, Manchester to Oxford, estimated cost to completion. So we've got, Lynette, you're remaining at the table, and Neil, yep, welcome. That's great. And Richard, welcome.
Would you like an introduction, Mr. Chair?
If there is an introduction, that would be good.
We can
Go through the talking points.
So Hereford Street report at the council meeting on the 14th of March last year, following the hearings panel report, it was requested that officers report back on the expected outturn cost. At that time, the estimated project cost was approximately 6.2 million. The report to council advised that the budget was 4.9, just under 5 at that stage. The budget amount was set prior to us completing scheme design or consultation or doing any site investigations or detailed design. We let the contract just before Christmas, and then we got firmed up numbers. So this is a report coming back to you. The current estimate is sitting, a complete estimate for the entire project, all costs, is sitting at 7.5. Some of that increased cost is a result of us finding more coal tar than we anticipated. We've talked about coal tar before with the council. We're doing some increased footpath at the end of at the Manchester Street end of the project, and there is a water main, quite a substantial water main, at over $500,000 to be replaced in the street. It's at its end of life. It's an AC asbestos concrete water main. Overall, under staff delegations, we have reallocated surplus funds from other central city projects within the program to cover this, to allow the contract to be let. And Fulton Hogan are completing this job along with Victoria Street, the Hereford Street Bridge. They're doing a stormwater culvert down Hereford Street as well, a major one. And they are going to undertake work on the edge of the square, and we are planning to get them to install the bollards at Oxford Terrace as well. So it's quite a big, from their point of view, it's a big contract. Hereford Street is a part of it.
All right, thank you. And I guess really just further drawing attention to paragraph 4.5 and 4.4 in fact as well. That water main replacement, 600,000, that was originally a separate project which was to be delivered in FY22, yes, which was brought forward to align with this project to avoid having to go into the surface of the new road, to dig up the new road in order to do that project in FY22. That was actually 600,000, whole project brought forward to align with this project because there were synergies between the two that made sense. I've got that right, haven't I? Yeah, great, thank you. All right, so moving to any questions. Any questions on this, Sam?
Thanks, Lynette. I mean, this is probably a stupid question, and it'll be my probably lack of understanding about it. So we've let the contract to Fulton Hogan for 5.3 million,
yep, but
the budget's 7.5. What's the rest of it for? Have I missed something?
So if you look up above, we've spent, to date, we've spent over 900,000.
Yep.
Getting to here.
So just on design and...
Design, consultation,
redesign.
So we've spent nearly $1 million on that.
Yes.
Yep. And then the rest of the million is in the extra costs that are listed down below, the rest of the additional costs.
Is that a normal amount in terms of design and consultation for a project? That just seems extraordinary.
It's high, but it's...
I think it's high, but for these central city projects and other sensitive projects, what we are hearing is from the councillors and from the communities that we need to do pretty extensive consultation, and when projects are put on hold, that also gives rise to additional costs as well, because the project's put down, the resources move somewhere else, and then we have to, if it's restarted again, we need to bring that resource back in. There's always a kind of a upskilling component to it. There was a significant amount of engagement associated with this in all Central City projects. So we do spend considerable time speaking with the community. I mean, many of those costs are internal costs, so they're our design engineers, our engagement people, our project managers, and all their costs are attributed to the project. But certainly for these ones, which are more sensitive than others, we do spend a lot of time and money up front.
Can I add as well, sorry, there is also quite a substantial investigation. We've done quite a substantial amount of potholing and investigation down there as well that's included in this, and we needed to do that before we could let the tender.
Right.
So that was to inform the tender, so ensure that we get good prices for our tenders.
Yeah,
So
it
that
just seems
they've got a lot of information.
really,
and
really high.
Quite a
doesn't it?
substantial amount of money.
There's a requirement to use mud potpourri in this design as well.
So we've had
So that's
additional landscape and urban design support in this as well because of the Central City project. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Yanni.
I'm just struggling to understand why we're not designing to budget rather than sort of designing and then increasing budget. So can you just help me understand that?
So the design itself went through a pretty involved process where it came before council. We went out and sought approval prior to going out for engagement. We had feedback through that engagement process, and we modified the design based on that and brought it to council for decisions. We subsequently had decisions of council about chopping and changing that. It was also in accordance with in general accordance with the Streets and Spaces Design Guide, which is the council endorsed document which provides direction to what you're expecting to see down the central city streets. So we don't know what the cost is going to be until we get into the detailed design and put it out and tender it. We do some initial estimates, and that's what we reported to the hearings panel of a year ago, and that was the reason behind this report which we brought to you now. But what we've done is been based on feedback from the community, direction from council, and consistency with higher order documents such as the Central City Recovery Plan and the Streets and Spaces Design Guide.
So, I mean, I guess it raises a question to me in terms of our budgeting. We've just had the additional information around North Avon Road, which basically went from a $1.5 million project, I think, up to about $6 million as well. So have we got sufficient budgets in place for the projects that we want to do in terms of our roading projects? Like, how can we have confidence the figures that we're getting in our annual plan, given that we seem to kind of see this pattern of increased cost following consultation?
I think there is a need to review some of the numbers in our LTP because a number of them have been rolled over for many years, and this was one of them. And we've certainly noticed a significant increase in costs associated with transport projects over the last 4 or 5 years, associated with things like archaeological issues. The traffic management is significant. Coal tar is obviously an ever-present issue for us, which probably was underestimated when the original designs were done. So all those things are resulting in significant increases in delivery of transport projects, and yes, the budgets probably need to be reviewed to reflect that.
And that's part of the exercise that we're looking to undertake for the next LTP.
And can you just, sorry, final question, can you just tell me how much per metre this Hereford Street upgrade's costing?
Per metre.
Like what's the kind of cost?
I don't think we could do that off the top of our head. There's a lot of services underneath Hereford Street. As you'll know that the old telecom building, Spark building, used to run a lot of things under there. So it is complex, hence the reason why we've done a lot of potholing to work out where those services are prior to undertaking the reconstruction of Hereford Street. Yeah. And that's contributed to those costs that Lynette talked about before. But this is one of the more complex central city projects that you'll see because of those services.
But it's 2 blocks basically, isn't it?
It
So
is
it's
2 blocks.
Like 2
Yeah.
blocks.
So,
$7
for
million.
example, the complexity there, I think there's at least 1, if not 2, bunkers that you can actually stand up in under the road down there that have services in them. So, just to put the complex on what, and there's absolutely no space. That water main we're putting in, we're squeaking in between. There's no space. It's a minefield underneath that road.
One thing I would bring to the council's attention is that, as we'd previously mentioned, it was in the unlikely funding bucket from the New Zealand Transport Agency, even though we've got an approved business case from them. We have subsequently, as the report reflects, had funding approved from the agency, so they will be up for approximately 51% of the transport costs associated with the project.
Thank you. So I've got Melanie, Sarah and Anne. Melanie, you're good? Okay, Sarah.
Thank you. I mean, we keep hearing this characterised as an upgrade, but my understanding is that for the most part, it's an earthquake repair, lots of damaged stuff and those kind of things, you know, mains and services and bits and pieces. If you look at the level of service provided for pedestrians that's not kind of earthquake related, like it's a asphalt in some paved areas, those kind of things, I mean, what proportion of the cost is kind of upgrading what's there and what proportion is like earthquake fix still? I mean, it's the worst 2 blocks in the CBD currently. Because I think we had some sort of...
I think previously we'd done a report.
Yeah, I think we had something...
What we'd previously broken down the costs associated with just replacing like for like and
fixing the services and stuff like that.
I can't remember what
Because
those
very
costs
little
were,
of
but
it.
we could recirculate that.
Because there's some
separately.
planting and those kind of things that are sort of new and upgrading.
No, that was, we did that
But-
for, we did that for Victoria Street, and that worked out at about 80-20.
Yeah, that's
my
right. So
understanding.
80% was like just repairs
Just-
and about
Yes,
20% is
yes.
upgrade. Because we
It's
keep
just
characterising it as upgrade, but it's actually just,
But
you know,
an
it's
yeah.
overdue repairs, right?
I
And
think-
then
So
taking the
yeah.
advantage of making it look nicer and be better for customers and shoppers at the same time.
Widening footpaths,
Yeah,
improving the amenity.
yeah, yeah.
But you wouldn't say, in my own personal view, there's a significant amount of that in the street here. It's not what I'd call a completely radical design. There are some widened footpaths, and yes, there's some planter boxes which we're putting in, but it's not significantly
Yeah.
different to what's there. It's not like an Avon River precinct or something
No.
like that. It's not to that level of amenity. In terms of this,
I
I
just
think we
think-
did break it down in the hearings report, so I
Yeah.
can certainly.
I
give
think
you a
that we
copy
need to be
of that.
careful how we frame these things, because like I didn't talk about, you know, our house got its earthquake repairs. I didn't talk about that as an upgrade. You know, it's just getting the stuff done. Yes, we took advantage and
Yeah.
you know, doing a couple of extra bits, but it wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah, not significant.
I think we just need to be careful about how we frame things. Yeah.
Thank you. Anne.
Yeah, thank you. I was aware that some of the business folk along there were concerned about service vehicles getting in and out. How was that resolved? Do you remember? Sorry.
Service vehicles.
Yeah.
So we put a number of loading zones in the streets
Yeah.
to allow for that. Excuse me, I have a medical condition that's affecting my speech.
So we have put a number of loading zones in,
Yeah.
Yes.
and we have had a lot of communication with all of the businesses to understand what their needs are. That's going to ramp up significantly with the contractor on board, because the contractors want to have those same discussions so that they understand what the business needs are, and they can help. That helps them form their program as to how they're going to build it and build the street and get in and get out as quickly as we can.
Those discussions have already started.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, no further... Oh, Aaron and Phil.
Yeah, just with the increased cost, have we looked at any options for offsetting those costs? Like, for instance, given the feedback in the consultation around the removal of the car parks at the bridge end, of maybe not now taking out those 8 car parks and using that revenue to offset the extra costs?
So
The bridge is a separate project.
part of the project.
And we're being funded by that by the Crown.
So
So-
that's not an option.
Not doing that anyway as a specific option. So.
Right, okay.
And Phil?
Just following along on from what Aaron said, with the bridge narrowing, which you've said is a separate project, is everyone here aware that the area where those 8 car parks are and the taxis are going to get moved off that bridge altogether? So it's just, do you guys all know that? Is it?
That went back to
Yeah,
council.
that's,
So perhaps a question would help, because these are questions.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
okay. Are
is
you
it, is
right?
it
Question.
correct, the separate project
It's not
for
part
the
of this job.
bridge, it's not part of this project, it's simply that we are delivering Otakuro's project because we have got project managers on site.
Project
The
managers.
Otakuro have done all of the work on this and we are delivering their project, is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, so we
So-
don't have any influence.
So Fulton Hogan aren't touching the bridge in this contract, is that what you're saying?
No,
No,
we
Fulton
are
Hogan are
using the
doing the
fact that
work.
we're doing this contract to do the other contract,
Okay.
which we've been asked to do by Otakuro. We're just using our contract. It's like the Northern Corridor. We're responsible for where the NZTA State Highway ends and Christchurch City Council Road starts, and they are delivering the work. We're paying for it. It's like the government's doing Metro Sports and we're paying for it. So, you know,
Okay, the other question is, Coulter,
well, it's not like that.
how confident are you on your 0.6 for Coulter? Because you know how North Haven Road sort of ran away
much
on
more
us?
confident down here because we've done the coal tar testing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So one of the lessons learned out of the North Haven Road thing was that we would do our testing, specific testing for coal tar, before we tendered. So we've done that. They've got all the contractors that priced had all of the information that we knew, and we had an appropriate contractor to do the testing and an appropriate methodology, so that we are pretty confident in it.
And just one last question, sound like Yanni. One last final question. Is Victoria Street had the same amount of testing for coal tar and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
it's all,
So that, yeah.
so we won't get another one of these on Victoria Street?
No.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so we've,
I was going to ask, any
Anne,
lizards?
yeah.
Any lizards?
No lizards.
No lizards.
Not yet.
lizards on Hereford Street. Okay. Depends how you define lizard, I guess.
Doing the work outside calendar years.
Okay, so we've got a resolution in front of us to receive the report, which I'm happy to move. Do I have somebody to second that? Pauline will second that. Is there any debate? Yanni?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that we've got this report, and I think it's really good that we're getting this information ahead of the project being complete rather than afterwards. But I'm really concerned about this. And also, I think, you know, what's really important is that, like, we've got budgets that are being changed outside of the annual plan process, and you can see them in 4.6. So I just feel like when we receive these reports, we should actually be making decisions. If we're taking money off other things to fund it, then that should be like a report with recommendations that does that, rather than just we do this now, receive the report, and then in the draft annual plan, those changes get approved. But because we get no visibility of what the impacts are. So I'm really concerned about this. You know, I think we've got to start getting some really good benchmarking around costs of doing these road upgrades, because for 2 blocks, nearly $7 million is a huge amount of money to be spent. And I just think that we've just gone, you know, way too overboard in terms of design. If that amount of money is what's required, when we've got, you know, we've just had a performance report earlier this morning around people's dissatisfaction with roads and footpaths in our suburbs, well, across the city, but, you know, a lot of that's in the suburbs that are just not being addressed. So I can't support this huge increase, and I can't support taking it off other projects without getting formal recommendations to do so. So I won't be voting for this.
Mike?
I wasn't going to talk, but now I will. I think we need to establish actually what the item is about, and is receiving a report. We've made previous decisions on actually the budget on this, and any increase is actually delegated to staff. I think we need to also look at what the project is and the condition of the road and what's being done. Actually, the top of the surface where the design is really simple. So to say it's a highly designed road is just actually just creating commentary for the paper that's not needed at this point in time. That's what staff said.
Yep, so Sarah and then Pauline.
Right. I come with photos. So as you can see, Hereford Street is stuffed. It's completely unattractive for shoppers and for businesses to do business in. And the last thing that a local hotel or a restaurant needs is for a broken water main under the road or a broken sewer, because it puts them out of business for a considerable amount of time. There is significant earthquake damaged services under that road. The footpaths are terrible. And there is a car parking building with public access car park on each of those 2 blocks. So it's not a big ask for us to make it an attractive area for shoppers at the same time as we do those earthquake repairs. Economic data that we had through late last year for the CBD showed a huge uplift in retail spend and consumer spend through many of the areas of the CBD, and the key one that stood out was Hereford Street, which didn't have that. And it's one of the last areas for us to fix the public realm space in, and is really strongly linked. You look at the upside and upturn along other areas that have got really high public amenity, directly correlates to the areas with bigger retail spend. And the increase is actually just actual costs. If we want more accurate budgets when we're doing the budgeting to start with and putting our budgets in the annual plan, then as councillors, as the governance, we need to set up a way of allowing staff to have budget for the investigations and all of that detailed design planning outside and before they bring us a budget of what it would cost to do. But that's on us to make sure that that happens. And we could do that with any projects that we want to. But at this stage, we tell staff, we want you to put some money on budget, what you think it might cost, and we haven't given them any funding to do those investigations first. That's on us, not on the organisation.
Thank you. Pauline.
Yeah, mine's in a similar vein, except I was going to say that Hereford Street is a dog. I was down there with some visitors the other day. We were trying to get across. We crossed it twice, actually, and it was a nightmare. And the area, as Sarah said, it's about our public realm, and that's one of our key hospitality areas and one of our key, most beautiful areas in town, leading on to our beautiful Takaro Avon River, and it's letting the city down. And I think that it's really high time that we got onto this. It has been delayed for quite a while, but we've also got the advantage of all the learnings and the delivery that we have now, that we can deliver these things. And it's a top of mind with the least disruption and the most communication with affected parties along there, and understanding and care. So I have some comfort in that. It's not going to be GP'd. Thank you for not using that word today, Yanni. I think this is going to be a wonderful project with lots of landscaping along there, street side tables. It's going to actually finish off that area of town beautifully. So I can't wait to see it done. So thank you. I'll be supporting it today.
Thank you. Can we get Sarah's picture back up on the screen, please? Thank you. Leanne.
Thank you. I've been inspired by the picture to say a few words as well. This paper is about Manchester Street to Oxford Street only. That's all it's about. And that Scorpio bookshop that you can see on the far side of the road, thank you, that's very helpful to use the pointer, is going to be a Hilton Hotel opening in spring next year. And if we're going to leave this road in this condition, then that is not being a good host to the people that they are going to bring right into the heart of our central city and right into the heart of the area that will benefit from the upgrade to Hereford Street. The other thing is that in that block, the next block over, back the other way, is the Spark building. They have begged us to do this by the time they open. We're not going to meet the opening time frame, I think, for Spark, but we're going to be close thereafter. So I would like councillors to think of this in the context of the challenges that have been found underground and recognise that this is just about the Manchester to Oxford, and the reason that we decided that this was one of the remaining AAC, Accessible City projects under the Central City Recovery Plan that we were going to proceed with, was because we needed to enliven this area as a quintessential joining point between the different parts of our CBD. So I'm supporting this.
Aaron.
Yeah, so it is a good photo for showing the condition of that road, and no doubt the project will deliver a much better condition road. I'm trying to find a pedestrian.
Yeah, there's a
That
reason
tells
for
a story in
that.
itself.
Yeah.
Who would want to walk down there?
Yeah, which brings me to my point. There's, in some areas along here, we're taking out the car parking like down on the bridge, which has got nothing at all to do with this. Nothing at all. Just being delivered by the same company at the same time. But beyond that, it will have nothing to do with it on the same street. But so that is clear. But what will happen is we're going to end up with a really nicely delivered piece of work from Manchester through to the river, which I think will be really good. But we're going to get complaints. And the complaint we're going to get is that you removed some car parks. We're not removing them all. There is just some coming out. But every time we take out another car park, we get hit by the public. So we might deliver something that's got a multi-million-dollar value and looks fantastic, but we're losing more people with their attitudes towards the loss of on-street car parking, because there's a number of people in this city that don't want to use high-rise car parks. They have phobias. This city was hit with an event on the 22nd of February, which will mean some people will never want to use high-rise car parks again in their lives. But we want those people to come to town. And the report, when we signed off this piece of Hereford Street, didn't have the financial implications of the car park removal. So I question whether we can stick to those resolutions, given that financial implications are meant to be in our reports. And there's a loss of those 8 car parks that are coming out by the river there of between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. And to me, that's a lot of money.
Thank you. I draw people's attention to the fact that this is a report for information.
Yeah.
We're not making a decision on what the project looks like or its features or any of those things. That's already been done, either by ourselves or under
Sorry,
delegation.
Mr. Chair, everyone else did. So I didn't want to be the odd one out.
Sam.
Really briefly, look, I'm sorry for asking the question that prompted this half an hour of debate. There's really two things here. Like Andrew said, we're receiving a report, so we do need to be pragmatic in the sense that we've already contracted it out and the work's getting underway. But I think the bigger issue, as Yanni has mentioned, is that the budgeting going forward, we do need to look at how we include that. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. The project's underway. It'll be good for the city. The decisions have been made. We've let the contract. Let's just get on with it. But we shouldn't relitigate this kind of thing when we're receiving reports, and I do apologise for asking that question.
If there are a number of things that come out of this, it really is if we can get more accuracy and robustness into those budgets in the beginning, because what we're really talking about here is the difference between a budget, which was a best estimate at the time, and that was some time ago, and the reality of the need to construct a road and other features in this area that are commensurate with the fact that Hereford Street is a key central city street, which has got a number of key facilities on it. We're talking Manchester through to the river. The work that's done by the river is excellent. The work that's been done on Manchester Street, that's completed. We've got good environments elsewhere around here in the city. We've got some significant private investment which has taken place into this area and more planned. We need to do this once, and we need to do it well. I appreciate that there are significant cost increases, but we've heard today that they're for good reason and will provide good amenity and good future proofing. I was particularly pleased to see that water main project brought into alignment with this, and that involved bringing funds forward, which means that we're, again, dealing with a matter which has been raised in this chamber a number of times, going in there once, doing the work once, doing it well, so that we then don't need to go back in there again and dig up the work that we've just completed. So there's a lot about this. that I'm really happy about. Obviously, anything where there are differences between budget and cost are areas that we quite rightly should be considering and we quite rightly should be doing a deep dive into. And we've done that today, both through the questions and through this debate. But, you know, we've heard there's a significant amount of what you might call subsurface complication. The services under the street are significant, and there's a lot of historic stuff there that's going to need to be sorted out as well. So I think some good points have been made in the debate, but overall, let's get on with it. Let's do a good job. And if there are learnings from the difference between the budget and the cost to deliver here that we can take and make sure that we look at those, you know, look at future projects differently as a result of what we've learned here, then something good has come out of it, as well as a great upgrade of Hereford Street. So this has been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried.